In the Black Out Loud.
What's next for Australia's old coal-fired power plants? As the climate transition forges ahead, repurposing coal-fired power stations and their surrounding communities makes smart business sense. By Deborah Tarrant. This article has been edited for audio purposes. Article begins. The notion of bringing new life to old assets and infrastructure is inspiring, and few repurposing projects get much bigger or more challenging than reimagining a coal-fired power station. The global energy switch from fossil fuel to renewable sources has overshadowed the destinies of the legacy assets that historically powered the Industrial Revolution hundreds of years ago. The International Energy Agency says achieving net zero by 2050 requires phasing out all unabated coal-fired power generation by 2040. With over 6,500 coal-fired power stations still operating around the world and the phase-out of coal escalating in advanced economies, decisions on the future of these once essential assets are now pending. The list of iconic examples for the adaptive use of former coal-fired power stations is growing. One of the most celebrated is London's Battersea Power Station, which reopened in 2022, almost 40 years after its closure. Today, thanks to Malaysian investors and a decade-long effort, it is a vibrant shopping and leisure complex, with large areas of the surrounding 17-hectare site still under development. Further up the Thames, the city's famous Tate Modern Art Gallery occupies the repurposed Bankside Power Station. On Singapore's harbourfront, St James Power Station is now the global HQ for household appliance maker Dyson, while plans linger for the transformation of the city-state's Pasir Panjang Power Station as part of the Greater Southern Waterfront development. Australia has stellar examples in the Brisbane Powerhouse, now a cultural centre, and Sydney's Powerhouse Museum, which recently vacated its Ultimo site ahead of a second revitalisation project. As the energy transition gains momentum, governments across the world are orchestrating the timing of the switch to renewables to keep the lights on. Concurrently, energy companies and asset owners evaluate huge liabilities and the high costs of rehabilitating sites, alongside the priceless value of their social licenses, to operate and future stewardship concerns. Communities invariably are loud about what happens to coal-fired power stations, not least because they have provided ongoing community employment for so long. Professor Bruce Mountain, Director of the Victoria Energy Policy Centre, says, "There is nowhere near the required global knowledge on coal-fired power station repurposing yet. The UK leads the way globally, both for the fast closure of coal generation and for the transformation of end-of-life power plants," notes Mountain, who points out that many early examples of coal-fired power station transformations are in CBDs. Urban areas bring the immediacy of a dense population, a propensity for tourists and transport infrastructure delivering foot traffic, which all create amenable conditions for museums, public spaces and residential accommodation. In Australia, where all remaining coal-fired power stations are in the regions, solutions look different. Mountain summarises the current approach as clear the land, leave the transformer, build a battery hub. Installing a big battery for renewable energy storage is the obvious option. There is logic in the trend now playing out across advanced economies to effectively swap out greenhouse gas-emitting energy sources for decarbonising alternatives. Find the way forward. Kelly Charlesworth, Australasian energy transition leader at design and engineering giant ARUP, says that location determines the future of a coal-fired power station site. The firm has created master plans for a range of power stations across the world. Among them are Battersea and French company Engie's Hazelwood in Australia's Latrobe Valley. Recent ARUP clients include the UK's last coal-fired power station, Uniper's Ratcliffe-on-Soar, closed in September 2024, and private investor-owned Greenspot's Wallerawang Power Station in central New South Wales. Charlesworth says, "What we're exploring with clients is the most appropriate, best and highest land use for every site. Outcomes are contingent on the existing opportunities each site provides, including infrastructure and skilled workforce, and rely on the vision through the eyes of many different stakeholders. Governments look at how power stations fit into regional economic transformations and impose extensive rehabilitation requirements. Energy generators lean into decarbonisation and renewable energy options. Charlesworth advises that developers have more disparate perspectives to owners for whom finding other uses for these sites may be a compensation for huge rehabilitation costs. Charlesworth is intent on seeing a change in the popular rhetoric that positions these sites as something to get rid of. Timing is important too. Ideally, the reimagining or development of a master plan happens in synchronicity with decommissioning and rehabilitation requirements for sites. Options to consider. Kelly Charlesworth explains that a first step in the redevelopment of a power station is the alignment of vested interests or getting all your stakeholders on board. It is also important to consider the combination of assets and connectivity available to uplift the land value. Coal-fired power station sites have a suite of attributes in common, notably very good power connections or access to them, water and transport of various types. Charlesworth says, "It's a brownfield site situation, so neighbours are usually not too close. You are looking at individual parcels of land and trying to find the delta. What will it cost to get that site to the higher land use, beyond the minimum rehabilitation requirements? If the decision is to replace the generation capacity of coal with renewables, in many instances, wind and solar probably won't fit." Kelly Charlesworth adds that batteries, gas-fired power, which is recognised as part of the transition, hydrogen production or other complementary land uses involving co-location of businesses like solar panel manufacturers may be viable. Decarbonisation is the focus for one of Australia's largest energy companies, AGL, with its integrated Hunter Energy Hub that aims to bring together green advanced manufacturing, waste recycling, grid-scale batteries, and energy generation. It will be set on 10,000 hectares in the New South Wales Hunter Valley, where the now decommissioned Little and still operating Bayswater, slated for closure 2030-33, power station stand. In New York City, Ravenswood Generating Station was acquired by energy giant Rise Light and Power for transformation into a renewable energy centre. One of Europe's largest utility companies, Enel, is seeking to turn 23 power plants in Italy into eco-hubs dedicated to science, art, culture, tourism, or new industrial activities. For those tasked with reimagining a coal-fired power station, the challenge is in finding a combination of activities that will deliver the best return. According to Charlesworth, in regional locations, no single purpose or activity is a clear winner. She says, "Batteries are the obvious starting point for everybody because they make money in the market, they're modular, so readily installed, and approvals are fairly easy. Community expectations for employment, however, may not be met. The goal to replace or create jobs on a renewables-only site may be far-fetched," suggests Mountain. Charlesworth adds, "There are jobs in the construction phase of wind and solar, but very few in the operational phase. Running a coal-fired power station is a very labour-intensive business, so the transition to labour light is massive. Understand the value proposition." By contrast, developer Greenspot 2845 identified a great opportunity for the Wallerawang power station site. Charlesworth observes, this is because they bring a range of shared expertise and are intent on showing a clear value proposition for a centre of economic growth for the Lithgow region. While a battery energy storage system is being installed on a section of the site, overarchingly, it has been designed for mixed uses, including tourism, residential and retail, and has carved out a substantial employment enterprise zone. There are also master plans for Swanbank Power Station, a small site in Ipswich, Queensland, which is one of Australia's fastest-growing residential areas. Run by Queensland government-owned CleanCo, the former coal-fired plant has been adapted to operate as a gas power plant early in the transition phase, and there have been community co-design activities around further future use. While a battery will be installed, there's an amphitheatre, sports complex, a walking trail that connects two residential areas, and locals and visitors can take a ride on the heritage railway that previously delivered coal. It's close to Brisbane, so universities or startups can use sites like Swanbank as innovation hubs for new technologies. Future uses of coal-fired powered stations are subject to approval, but open to the imagination of regional planners, owners, the community, and investors. They are also catching the eye of data centre hyperscalers for their proximity to water and energy. These sites can play a dynamic role in future economic development, but decisions made without a broader plan are risky. Kelly Charlesworth cautions, a misstep early on could easily cut off pathways to the future.
In the Black Out Loud.